Alright boys and girls, strap in. Today we're taking a look at Infinity, the project management database solution that I've bumped into very recently, and it's been around for like a bunch of years from what it seems. And we're going to take it through its paces. We're going to see how we can create a database in there. We're going to see how linking happens, formulas, views, all that good stuff. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get stuck in. And by the way, hi, if you're new here, my name is Alex, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything low code, databases, AI, automations, you freaking name it, we'll probably do it or have done it. We're almost at the milestone of having 100 videos, so that's decent, I think. So yeah, without any further ado, let's take a look at Infinity. Okay, so to kick things off, we're going to start with their website. And as you can see, the design looks really clean. I really like how the whole thing feels and looks. And really, without any scrolling, you can immediately take like a sneak peek as to how the whole thing works. And this is super reminiscent of, a database. And there's a reason why I'm adding that intonation there. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Like the whole website is really, really great. There's like little handwritten arrows and notes just to get me accustomed with the UI and the user experience. They're trying to make me jealous because there's like 20,000 companies around the world that use it allegedly. And yeah, you don't have to use multiple tools. Immediately, it's kind of nice that they immediately show me the types of views. Big thumbs up. That is great. I like the fact that they're banking on this. One of the first things you see is that you can see your data in multiple different ways, which is great. Now, one thing that kind of gets me a little bit worried is the fact that the nav bar is still there. I can't remove this unlimited users free white label, like this promotion thing. I can't remove it, can't see an X, and it's making the nav bar thick. That makes me wonder and especially if you're like giving me a special offer of unlimited users, and it just makes me wonder, why have this at such a prominent place in the real estate of a website? Wonder if discount is the best thing that they can offer me. But generally speaking, the whole thing looks super promising, that I can organize and share documents and all of that. It's all great. It looks good. It looks very promising. What can I say? They also have like a little price comparison, and Infinity kind of makes sense. It's like half price, more than half price from Airtable. Let's now see what the whole experience is like. I'm gonna try and log in, but actually before I log in, I want to show you what it's like to get started, because that's, I feel like, where some of the problems start. So I'm just gonna put my email address and press continue and then register. As soon as you press register, I would imagine that I can start using this, but no, I have to pay to play. And they're kind of like telling me that I can, get a 14-day money back guarantee. That is a red flag for me. It's not a deal breaker per se, but I can't even test it without giving you my credit card. Anyway, I've already signed up. I'm just gonna log in and show you what it's like when you're inside of Infinity's homepage when you're logged in. So in general, as you can see, the design looks good as soon as you're logged in and you've like paid your money and you're now in. The design generally looks very good. I like it. It's very clean. You just have your workspace and then you have your boards, as they like to call them, but ultimately it's not a board in my book, it's a DB. Now, let's take a quick look at how to actually build something. And yeah, for this one, strap in. This is where the fun really begins with Infinity. Okay, so just to ease you in, let's open up this little database that I've created, and I'm gonna kind of like show you around very quickly after about a day of using this and learning how to use it, because it's not what it looks like most of the time. And I think that's an overarching theme around Infinity. With traditional low-code database builders, you have a base, you have tables, and then you have views. Airtable, I think, calls it that. Smart Suite, and a whole bunch of other ones that we've reviewed on the channel. Here you have folders. So yes, you have one base, which they call a board. Then your tables are your folders, and every table then has got views, which are tabs up here at the top. As you can see, I've created just some basic tables, products, orders, order line items, and there's a lot of weird stuff. And let me just give you like a very basic example of what I mean, and we're gonna get deeper as we go. So for instance, let's say we're in the products table and I wanna add a new column. Let's call this something like a new column. I mean, they call it a column, but then it's an attribute. So anyway, let's create a new attribute. Let's just make it a simple text, right? And we're just gonna call it like description. Press save. Now let's say I changed my mind. You would imagine that I can either left click to get a list of options, or I can just click in and delete that field. No. It's buried here. You have to open up the detail view of the product, and then when you see description, you have to click on those like 3 little dots and then press delete attribute. Then it deletes it. But I want you to notice something else. I mean, obviously this is super annoying. Who thought of this? I don't even know. But did you notice how I have some weird fields here that do not belong to this table? For instance, I have product name, price, and that's it, no other columns. Well, the interesting thing about how you build things in Infinity is that all the attributes can be shared, and they are shared by default across all tables, which is just maddening. Why? And that's why you can see here in product, there's like a source folder, product, whatever that means. Order line items, add. Line item 1, there's sub items. So sub items, I think this was their attempt of kind of like allowing you to create relations without thinking about tables. So for instance, you could in theory go into an order, and let's just say that you want to create some line items against that order, which is a very normal thing to do. And typically you need to create a new table, link it back, and that's how databases work. So here we have sub items. I'm just opening up order number 2, add sub items, and there's just like this row, okay? Let's say item 1, click out, and it stays there. If you want to add more details about this particular item, you click into it, and now you can add like another attribute. But beauty of it is that I have all the other attributes here that I can kind of like bring back into this weird sub-item list. Let's say I want to create a new attribute, and let's call this long sum item description. Save. Okay, now in theory, that now becomes like part of all of my order records, which is so freaking stupid. Like, why? Why is this? This is just a... You see what I mean? And it doesn't really stop there necessarily. There's more of this kind of weird behavior. Now, let's talk a little bit about linking, because that's one of the key things about relational databases and being able to say that, you know what, this particular record belongs or has some kind of relationship to another record in another table. And you can technically do this in Infinity, but it's again done in some weird half-assed way. So for instance, let's create a new folder and let's call this customers, right? I'm gonna pick a table. I'm gonna call this John Doe, just a simple customer, okay? I'm gonna add maybe like an email, save. Oh, I can't save it because I have to call it again, save. And let's try and link John to an order. And you can do that. Fairly simple, add column / attribute. And then we have to pick a very specific attribute called reference. Choose destination folder, customers. Let's call the attribute customer. And now I have to choose it again for some dumb reason. Save. Now I can tie John Doe to an order. And if I open up John Doe, I can actually see all of the data that I've entered against John Doe. But the problem is, if you go into customers, you don't really see that column. you have to add column, and maybe I don't even know what it is. But basically, it doesn't create that back and forth connection between the customer and the order. In other words, if you want to see what John Doe has ever ordered, well, you can't really do it, or it's here. I don't know. It's kind of weird. You see what I mean? Now, let's talk about views. I'm a sucker for a good selection of views, and I feel like Infinity has got that. But I feel like some basic things in terms of database structure are missing. Therefore, can I say a lot of good things about it? I don't know. But the ability to create Gantt charts, lists, calendars, forms, it's all there. There's even the ability to create documents, kind of like a Notion style. But usually I'm interested in seeing how they've done forms. Usually that's where a lot of low-code database builders kind of like take the day off. They don't really pay a ton of attention to form building. Now, let me take you to a form that I've started building earlier, and we're just going to jump into order line items and then just go to form. You have to press edit, and now you are editing this form. So there's a few things that kind of stand out to me that make this basically unusable. Number one thing that I couldn't figure out for the life of me, and it took me like a good solid 20 seconds, is to realize that every single field is kind of grouped by field. Because initially I thought that this was my field, this was my field, and this was my field. But turns out, no. This is like a group of the name field, the question title, question description, and a preview of it. Same thing goes for price, quantity, and the rest of the fields that you might have. Now, you can make a field required, but you cannot make it dynamically hidden depending on some previously supplied answers by that user. So basically unusable. I'm not even going to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out whether or not they can do like dynamic drop downs. In other words, if I choose option A, the list in question B like dynamically gets altered. I'm not even going to go there if they are not doing conditional logic at a very basic level. There's really no point. So yeah, having said that, let's take a look at what they're doing with their fields. All right, good news first. They have a decent amount of fields. When you try to add a new attribute / column, you get all the basics that you kind of expect. The couple of things that kind of stand out to me is votes and progress. That's kind of cool, but the rest of it is kind of vanilla. There's nothing really to call home about. Yet there's definitely things that I would call home about in terms of what's missing. And number one culprit, which to me is like a huge red flag, it's a deal breaker. Basically, I would not use this system at all. And that is the lack of lookup fields. There's just no lookup field. So in other words, if I have this little line items table, right, and I'm linking the product into this folder, table, call it whatever you want, I want to look up the value of how much that product costs. More specifically, let's actually add it. So let's call this price, and this is going to be like currency or number, save, and let's give this a value of 10. All right. Now here, there's just no lookup field. I can create it, but it's just not there. So that's a big red flag. I'm usually interested in how formula fields work when it comes to low-code database builders. So let's take a look at that. I mean, I'm just gonna superficially just add a price here. So let's just call this like a currency or like a number, and we're just gonna hard code it. Oh, you see, can't, because this is like item price. Let's simulate a lookup. So 5 times 10, that would give us our total line item price. So let's create that new attribute, formula, and we're gonna give this a name, total line item price. The good news is that you have tons of functions, tons of things that you can do. I mean, the list goes on and you can scroll for days. There's just an insane amount of functions, which is amazing. But that's where the amazing stops. Let's just say I'm looking for a simple if expression, right? Returns one value if a logical expression is true and another if it's false. No help, essentially. There's no examples of the syntax that I need to follow. And that's a huge problem because technically, if you take a closer look, there is a VLOOKUP function. Remember the fact that there is no lookup fields? Well, I was like, hey, there's a VLOOKUP. Okay, I never thought I would be using a VLOOKUP expression ever again other than when I'm in Excel, but it's there. Best suited for situations when you're looking for a matching data point in a column. Come on, I don't care about marketing. Like, I don't want you to sell me this field. I want to know how it works. I want to see examples. I want to see the syntax that I need to follow because I want to use it. Okay, I'm going to take a look at their documentation. They must have it in there, right? Wrong. Help center. Beautiful help center page, right? Freaking great. And let's just go down to attributes. Great. Read about our 20 fully customizable. It's actually 21 if you count it, but I'm going to sidestep that. Let's focus on formula. And now we have our formula help center page. And here we go. We have a list of formula functions, 350 different functions. I don't know if they've counted this, but ultimately there's tons of them, like I said before. Guess what? They've even put them in alphabetical order. So if you go down to the very bottom where we should be finding VLOOKUP, Vara, VARP, that's it. It's not there. So what can I say? It's disappointing at the very least. But at the end of the day, if you try to use a formula field, it works. So if I was to just say, quantity times item price, I guess, press save. 5 times 10 is 50. If I change this to 55, it does the calc. And again, like the experience of writing a formula out is not great either. So I can just say if, let's say I have a very complicated nested if that I need to write, it doesn't act as that notebook style formula editor that we're kind of used to with Airtable, for instance. It's just like one line. So if you have like a very complicated expression, you're going to have a bad time. Now, let's talk about some special features that you can find within Infinity. Okay, I don't know how we can talk about special features when the basics fail consistently, but to give them the benefit of the doubt, we have some kind of AI functionality that helps you create things. Haven't tested it. I don't know how well it works. There is a dedicated automation platform, which is really nice. Not every single low-code DB builder has this. And it's nice to know that there is something so that we don't have to constantly call make or Zapier to perform the basics. Now, there's also an API that they have. Everything generally speaking looks good. There's an official API documentation page for developers. If you open it up, it looks decent. Like I've seen worse. They kind of give you all the necessary bits that you might want as a developer to perform API calls. Am I impressed? I think I am, but at the same time, I feel like I've trusted the good looks of Infinity and fallen flat on my face. So there is an API, documentation seems to be okay. I wonder if it works well. Now, to conclude this 24-hour review of Infinity, I'm going to take you straight to the beginning of this review, and that is the homepage. Let's take a look at this offer of theirs that they're giving us. Having a hard time organizing your business? Simplify. There's like so many big, grandiose promises. Again, they're trying to make me jealous that, hey, all of these huge multinational companies are using it and I'm not. And then we get this sort of like monthly flat rate where you can have basically unlimited everything, right? Unlimited users for one fixed price. And if you go lower, this seems to kind of give me the vibes of, the businesses that usually have like this super ClickFunnels-y page that constantly has got like big capital letters, underscores, and like testimonials. Yeah, I mean, I think you see where I'm going with this. I feel like they overpromise and the reality is nowhere near as good as what they paint it to be. Hence, giving us this, flat rate per month, 87% off. You know what? I don't mind paying $99 per user if certain system can save my marriage. But, you know, it's not about the money, it's about what you get for that money. And I don't think you get a great deal, at least for now. There's no lookup field. Now, my final thoughts on Infinity is that they should start taking some things seriously. Basic things. Now, that is, of course, if they want to stay competitive in this ever-evolving, ever-growing marketplace of low-code database builders. Now, of course, I'm rooting for them, and I really hope that they can improve on some of the stuff that I've raised in this video, which in some cases were really, really big fails in my book. But time will tell. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.